Personal branding in a state agency. Today, I'm joined by Chris Arnold, who is, in many people's eyes, including myself, a bit of a guru when it comes to personal branding in a state agency. Talk to me about personal branding in a state agency, in particular, the difference between branding and reputation. Talk to me.
It's a good question, and it's one that I've disagreed with Seth Godin on, who just...
You were on his podcast, weren't you?
Well, yeah, not on his podcast, but I was mentioned on one of his podcasts, and it was basically a question that I asked him to explain what his definition of personal brand was, and his explanation, and I admire Seth tremendously, but his explanation of personal brand was it was just basically reputation. And I disagree with that then, which was a few years ago, and I disagree even more with it now, because reputation is a result of personal branding. It's not the actual personal brand itself. Reputation is acquired over a good number of years.
Would it be fair to say that reputation is what other people think about you? What's personal brand is what you do to create that brand.
Exactly, yeah. It's self-defined.
It is one of the same thing, but just from a different point of view. One, you are in control. See, I didn't agree with you to start with, but I did go down that rabbit hole, and actually I do agree with you now. Is that the personal brand is, everyone has a personal brand, so you might as well actually create a good one. So the personal brand is what you create. Yep. And show to the world, yep. And the reputation is what others people see through their eyes, exactly. Looking at your personal brand. Yep. It is one and the same thing, but just from different points of view.
Yeah, exactly. And the reputation comes at the end of the process, whereas the personal brand comes at the start of the process, if you like, or the character comes at the start of the process.
Why do you think estate agents aren't very good at personal branding? Because the amount of times that people have said, "I'm going to get me a personal brand," which you just want to slap them.
That's basically micro-celebrity, if you like, following the Kim Kardashian route, becoming famous, if you like, without actually going deep in, the brand within, which is what I'm sort of focusing on now, is actually the reason for having the personal brand, as opposed to the reason being I want to be well known, and I want the attention, and with the attention, I'm hoping I'm going to sell them something. The personal brand, if you like, is something that people, I wouldn't say they're afraid to embrace, but they haven't been educated to embrace.
You see, a lot of people are afraid. They all think it's going on, on camera and doing stuff like this. Mm-hmm. And the amount of times I see people start and then stop because, the biggest challenge is starting, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And then the second challenge I find is they do it for a number of months and don't get anything for it, so they give up.
Yep.
Then the next challenge is they get about 18 months, they get so much smoke blown up their own arse. No, hold on a second. They get quite busy, so they drop the personal brand.
Yep.
Yep. Then after about 3 years, they start to believe the bullshit and suffer from hubris.
Yep.
I've been through all those.
I think I've probably done it as well, but I think the issue with personal brand, if you say, okay, well, I'm going to have a personal brand, you start researching what do I need to do with personal brand, and you look at all the people who are supposedly personal brand experts, and they will say, okay, well, you need to present this image to the world, you'd have to have this personality, you have to have the content, you have to have the platforms, you have to do, consistent content, etc., etc. So they're all going through this process, which is all acceptable and necessary, but one thing that they are missing straight at the start is who the person is. So you've got the what, the why, the where, and the when, and you're totally ignoring the who, and it's the who that is the most interesting part of the whole thing. So if Kim Kardashian was saying, okay, this is what I am, blah 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 blah, without actually saying who she is, it becomes, to me, less interesting. If you read an autobiography or a biography, it's about the person and about what matters to them. So you're focusing on the really important issues in their life, their beliefs, their convictions, as opposed to what they're doing, you know, driving around in their Ferrari, or they're, you know, having the holidays and the speedboat rides.
You say it's all about the person, but could that not be seen as selfish? Because we don't. It's like the person at the party who talks about themselves all night.
Yeah, well, I've heard that argument before, and I think that basically is lack of self-worth. If you're not prepared to talk about yourself, it's basically saying I'm not interesting.
But we've all been to the party where someone talks about themselves,
Yep.
and through the eyes of the viewer, we get turned off by that. Surely
There's a balance, you know.
surely the person who's talking, what's talking about themselves, has to be interesting. So the other person's interested.
They've got to be interesting, certainly. I mean, one of the things I'm always saying is, you know, go first, because, you know, leaders go first. It's always takes courage to go first.
Okay.
So if I was saying to you, let's talk about personal brands, let's talk about your personal brand, let's talk about my personal brand. And this is, you know, just an exercise if you like. But for me, for personal brand, my core values, if you like, my number one is curiosity. I want to explore things. My second one is kindness. You know, I want to be kind, and I can explain why, and this, that, and the other. My third thing is congruence, and you can go down these routes.
What, sorry?
Congruence.
What's that?
Congruence is where things align, if you like.
Okay.
So if you say you're happy-go-lucky, but inside you're sad, so there's no congruence there, if you like. It's basically like the sides of a triangle; they have to align. Values have to align. Now, if I talk to you about your personal brand, I know nothing about you. I mean, we talked 6 years ago in Birmingham, and I got a picture of you from, you know, the half an hour that I'd known you, whereby you are a very gregarious, outward-going, you know, full of life type of person. Other than that, I know nothing about you. I know you've got a personality. I know you've got a high visible profile. But in terms of the values, what matters to you, whether it's family, whether it's truth and honesty, whatever, I know nothing about you. So I'm trying to scratch the surface about who you are as a person, and nothing in the 6 years that I've known you has got me any deeper under your skin, if you like. So, I mean, what's the most important thing to you in life?
Happiness.
Happiness. Fine. Why?
Because I'm at ease with myself.
You're at ease with yourself. Okay. How hard was that?
Not particularly hard, no.
Okay. Right. Now, if you're talking about happiness, I could build a whole profile, a whole brand, a whole story, a whole series of stories around happiness. It's an easy subject to talk about. And for the majority of people, I would argue that they're more interested in people who are happy and interested in what's going on in their life that demonstrates that happiness than in what's happening in the local market.
Okay, go on.
In fact, let me just grab this for you for a second. This is based on the disc profile, and I just did it on AI generation, so it's nothing to do with me. It took me 5 seconds to put it into an AI generation. So based on the disc profile, I should have got my glasses out to read this. But an estate agent who values competitiveness above all else would exhibit the following qualities: aggressiveness, proactive in pursuing leads, clients, and sales opportunities, goal-oriented, I won't go through them all, resilience, persuasiveness, resourcefulness, ambition, and there's a whole stack of things that they put down about someone who has the D profile.
So I'd say that's the D profile, but estate agents aren't D profile.
Okay, let's go into the I profile, which is, where are we? Here we go. An estate agent who values enjoyment and values recognition above all else would likely exhibit the following: charismatic personality, they're engaging and personable, making interactions enjoyable to the clients and colleagues, high energy and enthusiasm, recognition seeking, customer-centric approach, confidence and assertiveness, strong networking skills, adaptability and creativity, goal-oriented. I mean, that basically...
And their biggest fear is rejection.
Why talk about your fears?
Because human beings are driven more by fear than the fears and frustrations and hopes and dreams. And don't get me wrong, they shouldn't be.
Exactly. I mean, where you put your
But
attention.
this is where your monkey brain, your emotional brain,
Okay.
drives you, when in reality that small part, that conscious human brain, which should drive you forward, the one that make the logical part, should drive you forward. And if you can control, if you can get your, I'm a huge believer in self-awareness. You know, you've just described most estate agents
Yep.
there, and I'm that person.
Yep.
I have matured throughout my years to have more of a D personality,
Yep.
and I'm conscious of it and I'm aware of it. And I have to tell my I side of my brain to shut the F up,
Yep.
to drive us forward.
Yep. And it's based. I mean, we're going to talk about it in another video, but it's the energy, if you like, of the situation. Where you put your focus is where the energy goes. So if you put your focus on the fear, that's where the energy goes, into the fear. If you put your focus on the positive side of things and about the outcome that you
100% agree with you.
so
100%
so
agree.
basically
But it comes from self. You've got to be aware of this, knowing how the different parts of your brain drive you, and you can't shut her up, can you?
why not?
You can dance. Seth says you can dance with her. You can dance with that. It's your amygdala kicking in, that thing at the back of your brain. Seth talks about this all the time.
Put your focus somewhere else. I mean, if
No, but if you're aware of it, you can deal with it. You can talk to her and placate her.
why be aware? Why be aware of it?
Because she's still there.
Why?
Because that's your. Every animal has that amygdala in their brain. Just so, therefore, if you're aware of it, so
We're talking about fear here.
yeah, okay. But if you can use that as a fuel. If you're aware of it and know how to deal with it, use
Well, that's
it.
a bit crazy. That's like saying, you can keep yourself warm by putting your hand over a candle.
But you can. I mean, isn't it interesting that so I've made it public that I'm a Freemason, so I can go on stage for half an hour without script and go for it.
Yeah.
But when I do my stuff in the lodge, it took me years. I was tongue-tied, wasn't very good, and then all of a sudden, because it was staring me right in front of my face, I said, "Why do you not adopt what you do in the outside world in there?" And it clicked.
Yeah.
And now I use that as a fuel.
Yeah. But while that was clicking, were you thinking about the fear? While you're actually, making it work.
Well, it was like a light bulb moment. Up until
So
that point, I couldn't see it.
the fear went away
The fear went away.
because you've put the focus onto
Yeah,
the positive side of
but
things.
self-awareness.
It's not self-awareness. What you're actually doing is ignoring the negative aspect of things. So where your energy goes is where the focus is. So if I wanted to move my hand now, if I wanted to move my right hand, I would put my focus on my hand and move it.
Shall we, in the next video, actually talk about the best ways to implement personal brand in a estate agency?
Let's do that.